the current president of the United States, Donald Trump, and his family have now moved outside to the exterior, the other side of the Capitol. There's one of the helicopters that serves as Marine One when the president is on it, is there, and it will serve to take Joe Biden and Jill Biden all the way out to Joint Base Andrews, where they will get a final ride home on what they would normally call Air Force One, but it's not Air Force One unless the current president is aboard it. So it'll just be another Air Force flight returning Joe Biden, I guess, to Delaware or wherever he wants to go on his last leg after getting a dressing down there in the rotunda by the incoming president.
Yeah, he definitely got a dressing down. There's no doubt about that.
There's no doubt about that.
I mean, it was one of those things. They weren't even subtle shots. I mean, he came out and just shot after shot after shot. So from here, Trump heads over to the Capital One Center. And now
Well, he's got a luncheon first. He'll do a luncheon, and then he'll move over. So the way things are going, I'm not expecting him to get to Capital One Center until about 2 o'clock East Coast time, 1 o'clock your time.
Okay.
But that's going to be quite the event as well. And by the way, the great news is the Stewart's Creek High School Band will get to perform before Donald Trump at the Capital One Arena.
Oh, that's cool. I was trying to figure out, okay, so who's going to be in there? Who gets allowed to get inside of there? Because obviously the parade and stuff, and everybody got tickets. How do you figure out who even gets in that place?
It's hard to figure that out, but you had to know people, let's put it that way, to get into that arena. I noticed that yesterday they had a line that was several blocks long. Today it seemed like you got in through an admission of some kind, a ticket, some kind of pass that was sent to you by email. I don't know exactly how it all works, but there are a lot of people wondering, how do you get in over there? And a lot of people don't seem to have the answer to that.
How was what was the sense of what the crowd would have been? Because Bell and I were talking before, everybody's going to if he did this because he didn't want people to see how big the crowd was. If he would have done it outside, people would have been mad at him because it was too cold and people would have got sick. I mean, it was a no-win situation. But, would you have even been able to see any of this because of how much fencing and stuff was around there?
Yeah, what's really interesting is they have all this fencing off that took the mall and just sort of fenced it in from the west front of the Capitol, looking down the mall. It was fenced in for blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks. And then they just put up signs yesterday that said, "Stay out."
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I wonder how much of this was a security concern and how much of it was a weather concern. Was it cold? Yes. Is it also true that by moving all this indoors, they made it a more secure event? Absolutely. No doubt about that. They claim it's all about the weather, but it is interesting to note that there have been some real concerns here leading up about drones and everything else. And so, but they decided apparently to move it indoors, they say because of the weather, but it is also true it was a more event because they have done that. Also, eliminating a 16-block parade and moving it into arena makes it much easier for them to manage that as well.
I heard the guys earlier today say, well, I think it was because of security, this, that, and the other. The way I look at this is, if you're worried about security today, what's going to change tomorrow? Because Trump is not going to stop being Trump. He's still going to go out on the road. He's still going to do his things. So I feel like it probably was a bit of the weather. You have to remember, he's not a spring chicken. There's things you take cautions with, and he's not a spring chicken. And if they were worried even a little bit, yeah, I could see how they would move it in. But that being said, it's freezing out there. I saw you guys standing in the road. There's snow.
It was cold. The Joe Biden is now aboard the helicopter. Yep. Donald Trump now walking back toward the Capitol. Well, he will attend a dinner or luncheon, I guess, in his honor. And the transition of power is complete. And so long, Joe. He gets one final trip over the city of Washington, D.C., one more flyby of the White House before he goes on out to Joint Base Andrews.
So he goes in today to Capital One eventually after his lunch. I wonder what he's having for lunch. You know him. He's like, everybody gets McDonald's.
Probably. Big Macs for everybody, Brian.
So he goes and does that today. Then he goes and signs. What's the thing you're looking forward to the most as far as the signature? As far as these, because remember, some are executive orders, some are executive actions. There are difference between the two. What do you think is...
As I understand it,
Oh, my God, did we lose Brian? Oh, killed Brian. Who did that? This is it. This is how it starts.
Yeah.
Bell.
You there, Brian?
We lost Brian.
Hello, are you still there?
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Brian's back, ladies and gentlemen.
Am I back? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So we're talking about the executive orders. I think we lost him again. We'll come back.
Yeah, can you still hear me now?
Yeah.
Am I all right?
Yeah, there you go. Can you hear me now? All right, we're good. Anybody? Hello? Bill? Anyone? Well, let's come back to Brian a little bit. Again, interesting. And we were talking earlier. We'll get to Brian here in a little bit. He's out there doing his thing, and thank God for that. He busted his butt. He went out there, thanks to Busy Bee, took him out there, and it's been great listening to him. Having somebody there, I mean, that to me is amazing, because I see a lot of people who do this for a living and stations, and they don't have anybody there, and Brian being there is awesome.
You forgot the most important question, man.
Which is?
Ask him how retirement's going.
Oh, yeah, should have.
Seems to be working out really well for them.
Did Joe ask you?
Still working.
Did Joe come to you and go, Brian, well, what do you do during the day? What's going on? What do you do? I'm excited. Again, and I'll say this. I'm not a pomp and circumstance guy. I'm not flashy. I've never been flashy. I don't care much for a lot of stuff. Like, I'm not a car guy. I don't care about any of that stuff. It's never been my jam. And today was, it was interesting to watch a bit of it. And I try to tell people, we do this as much as it's pomp and circumstance and stuff that we've done in the past, also for the rest of the world, to show that we pass ourselves the baton, which I think is great. All right, Brian's back. All right, Brian, so let's talk about some of those executive orders and actions today that he's going to sign.
Yeah, I'm sorry that we lost you there. You know what happens is that sometimes when there are presidential movements, they will interrupt the cell phones for short periods of time, and a lot of my ability to speak to you comes through cell phone technology, so I apologize for that.
All good, brother.
So the helicopter's about to leave now. Executive orders, executive actions. As I understand it, an executive order may contain as many as a dozen executive actions.
Yeah.
So there are executive orders, and within an executive order could be many executive actions. By some counts, and I have not heard the official count yet, there could be as many as 200 executive actions, somewhere around 100 executive orders.
Man, this is going to be very interesting. Watching people freak out is mostly my entertainment today. Is going to be the left's head spinning. He talked about the DEI stuff, and I just know their heads are all spinning. But there is some serious stuff that he's got to do, and I think the easiest, low-hanging fruit of everything is going to be immigration.
Yeah, I think you're right, and that's going to be the big one. And he can make a big change on day one simply by undoing the things that Joe Biden did by issuing his own executive orders when he became president. The big Sikorsky helicopter now flying past the Capitol Dome. Joe Biden going to get one more aerial tour of Washington before heading out to Joint Base Andrews for his final flight back home.
Think about Biden for a second. Was it 50 years he's been in politics? Imagine how much he's seen D.C. change over those years.
Yeah, amazing. He has had a lot of years in, and he became a congressman and then a senator at a very young age. But he has seen a lot of things come and go. I think most people look back at Joe Biden and they come back with one conclusion, and that is he lingered on the stage too long.
Oh, absolutely. He reminds me of an athlete that you'd rather go a year early than a year late.
Yeah. Don't stay out there too long, because people will have not the right memory of you, is the one way you want to look at that. But he is. Let's see, I'm trying to figure out if I can get this other thing back up now or not. Yes, I should be back up on the other channel now. So.
Okay, let's see here. Bell's pushing buttons like he's flying. So if you guys know, we have Brian out there right now, and he is dealing with all of.
All right, here we go.
Oh, here we go. We're back, brother. So this is. We got 47 here. First of all, the reality of our modern world going from 45 to 46, then back to 45, essentially, to 47. This hasn't been done in forever and a day.
No, it is an unusual way. And once you leave the office, it's very rare for you to come back, and unless consecutive terms are, of course, a very common thing. But to have that gap in there is almost unheard of. It has happened. I can't remember. Right off the top of my head, the last I can't remember which one it was.
One of the two?
Cleveland.
One of the two.
Cleveland. Maybe it was Cleveland.
Maybe it was Cleveland. But one way or the other, it is a rare thing. And, I think the thing that I keep looking at is everything that they came at him with. The lawfare, the assassination attempts. I mean, he just was able to work his way through all of that. And I think if you had, about a year and a half ago, if you just said, is Donald Trump, has he got a real chance here? A lot of people might have said no, but he just kept his head down, kept doing the work, and was able to absolutely, just devastate his opponents in this last election. It's history in so many different levels, so many different ways.
Absolutely. Brian Wilson with us. We're going to talk to you in a little bit, man. Let you relax, take a deep breath, because I know you've been doing a lot of stuff, and we'll talk to you coming up in a little bit.
All right, we'll catch you in a bit.
Brian Wilson right there, out there in D.C. He's watching everything happen. Just watched the helicopter take off. Now, Trump's going to go eat lunch, and then the party's going to begin at the Capital One Center. He's got to have something up his sleeve, right? Like once he moved inside, there had to be, all right, like, here's the deal. We're going to get cameras. We're going to do this. There's got to be explosions, right? There's got to be fireworks. You can't he doesn't do anything half-ass. You guys know that. So we'll see what happens.